All right, Steeler fans, it is time for the winners and losers segment right here on the Let's Ride podcast. You should know this by now. Winners and losers comes down to who does well, who doesn't do well. And in this case, there's 10 winners and 3 losers after the Steelers' 37-15 win over the New York Jets. Let's start this thing off, right? Let's start off with who I think the one player that really took the game and said, I got you. We're going to turn this thing around. That's Beanie Bishop. Beanie Bishop is the first winner on the list. His stat line reads 6 tackles, 5 solo, 1 really awesome tackle for loss. He had 2 pass defenses, which were his 2 interceptions, one of which was a phenomenal catch, a one-handed grab. The second one, the return, if it weren't for Devontae Adams' hustle play, he would have scored, but he gets him down to the 1. Just a great job. Beanie Bishop. Beanie freaking Bishop, of all people. And this is a guy that was undrafted out of West Virginia University. No one gave him a shot. He makes the team. He gets picked on. I've said this all year with him. It's feast or famine. In this case, he was feasting the entire game. I thought he had a great game. He deserves all the accolades because when you get these undrafted guys, it's really cool to see them kind of prosper. It's cool to see them show up and show out. And so he's out there and he's making plays. And I know a lot of people were asking, what's going to happen when Cam Sutton comes back? Man, let's worry about that when Cam Sutton's eligible to come back after the bye week. In the meantime, Beanie Bishop has proven that he is capable. And I think that's a huge statement for an undrafted rookie. Let's go to the next winner. Takeaways. So the Steelers, in terms of the turnover differential, they finished +2. They have 2 takeaways, but to me, there's 4. The 2 interceptions by Beanie Bishop that I just mentioned. The turnover on downs, where the Steelers stopped them on 4th down, and then they drove down the field for another touchdown. That was like the icing on the cake. That was the nail in the coffin. But that also doesn't go down as a takeaway, even though there was a turnover on downs. And then the blocked field goal by Dean Lowry, that was another play which doesn't get marked down on a takeaway or a turnover, but it takes points off the board and they get the ball back. These type of plays are what you need. And when I do my keys to victory, and I did this last Wednesday, when I do keys to victory, I look at this and I say, okay, sometimes the defense and special teams just need to give the offense an extra possession. Sometimes it's awesome if you can take points off the board. But in this case, all of these takeaways were necessary. They were all unbelievably warranted. Great job by the defense and special teams in that regard. So let's go to the next winner, which ties in with the takeaways, and it's POT, as I call it, points off turnovers. Listen to this stat line. Those interceptions by Beanie Bishop turned into 14 points. That blocked field goal turned into 7. And that turnover on downs turned into 7. That's right. Every single time the Steelers got the ball back in some way, shape, or form that wasn't a punt, they turned it into points. Good teams do this. Good teams make teams pay for their mistakes, whether it's an interception, whether it's a blocked field goal, whether it is a turnover on downs, they make them pay. And the Steelers did just that. Points off turnovers. Tremendous stuff for the Steelers offense, taking advantage of those extra possessions. The next winner is, guy we talked about in the first half of this podcast, Russell Wilson. His stat line reads, he was 16 of 29, 264 yards, a 9.1 yard average, 2 touchdowns, 2 throwing touchdowns. He had a rushing touchdown as well. No interceptions. He was sacked 1 time for 4 yards with a 109.0 rating. Talked about Russell Wilson a lot in the first half, and I don't want to reiterate all those things, but Russell Wilson had a great game. He had a better finish. His start was rough. He was booed by the home crowd. And I hope that, I haven't listened to his post-game press conference yet, but I hope he realizes that the crowd booing him was not based solely on the fact that it looked rough. It was also the fact that people were saying, put in Justin. What are we doing? And he had to go out there, and he's the only one that could have done this. He had to go out there and silence those critics at Acrisure Stadium. And he did that. And he did that in a big way. And so now all of a sudden the fan base is thinking, oh man, 37 points. Haven't seen that in a while. yeah, maybe we can let Russ cook a little bit. And so they're going to give him a little bit of leniency now. So good for Russell Wilson for silencing those critics, and good for Russell Wilson for getting his first win in his first game with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Let's go to the next winner, George Pickens. A lot of people, with my dad, I was watching the game with him. He said, well, he'll be happy with Russell Wilson. Man, receivers just want anyone to throw him the ball. As long as you get them the football, they're fine. And George Pickens was really happy after this game. He finishes with 5 catches on 9 targets, 111 yards, 22.2 average, 1 touchdown, and a 44-yard long. George Pickens is a typical wide receiver. He wants the football. He wants the football frequently. He thinks that he can always win his matchup. And there's nothing wrong with those things. Nothing that I said is in any way, shape, or form a detriment to a receiver. And now if he turns it into pouting and all that stuff, that's different. But George Pickens had a great game. The concentration to come up with the catch, so he's bobbling it. He probably should have had 2 touchdowns, if I'm being honest with myself. But nonetheless, the other throw was a little bit shallow on Russell Wilson's part. But George Pickens had a hell of a game. He needed one of these games, his first touchdown of the season. So George Pickens finds his way on the winners list for sure. All right, let's go to the next winner, Naji Harris, 21 carries, 102 yards, a touchdown, a 34-yard long, and a 4.9-yard average. So this is the second straight game that Naji Harris has gone over 100 yards. This is also the second straight game that his average has been well over 4.5. Last week was that crazy, insane. I think it was 7. I think it was 7.6 last week or something like that. Just an insane number of in terms of insane average for Naji Harris. I said this in the post-game show, and I'll say it again. Naji Harris looks like a different player right now. He looks like a different running back. If Naji Harris is going to look like this all the time, then I could see him getting another contract with the Steelers and being the first running back since Verron Haynes to sign, not to have a contract extended, but to sign a second contract. But he's got to keep doing this. He's got to keep having these dynamic performances, and that's what we want to see from Naji Harris for sure. But Naji Harris definitely finds himself on the winners list. Let's go to the next winner, the offensive line. First and foremost, the stat line is simple. They remained intact. There were no offensive line injuries this week. Ryan McCullum, huge shout out to that guy. Stepping in for Zach Frazier, doing a great job. He got called for holding. Okay, that's fine. But Ryan McCullum did a great job. I really am starting to be a big Mason McCormick fan. The way that he plays, he's emotional. He shows that emotion. He wears that number 66, which is not something that the Steelers take lightly. I love Mason McCormick's play, and I think he's only going to get better. Brian Davis said this in the postgame show, and I agree 100%. He's not going anywhere in terms of being in the starting lineup. With James Daniels done for the year with a ruptured Achilles tendon, that's Mason McCormick's job for here and for the foreseeable future. I love watching these guys play. Did Broderick Jones have a perfect game? No. Did Dan Moore have a perfect game? No. But you know what? You're going to live with those two guys for the rest of the season, and then we'll see what happens after that. But the offensive line dominated in the second half, really got some good push against a good defensive front of the New York Jets. It was a lot of fun to watch. Let's go to the next winner, and it's just the offensive finish. And here's the stat line. The Steelers scored on their last 5 drives. That's right. Their last 5 possessions, the Steelers added to their point total. The last 5 drives. I didn't have time to go back and see, well, when was the last time that happened? That's just a remarkable statistic. That deserves to be on the winners column because it's an offensive performance that they finished the job. They finished it. I love that. I love that stat. They scored on their last 5 drives. All right, the last 2 winners we're not going to spend a ton of time on because they're very self-explanatory. The first, red zone offense. The stat line was they went 4 for 6 in the red zone on Sunday Night Football. That's a great, great clip. And when I think about it, let's see if I can find the stat here. Coming into the game, the Steelers' red zone Offense was kind of middle of the pack. That's going to help. 4 for 6 is going to help. We'll update that this week. Next winner and the final winner, third down defense. The third down defense for the Steelers held the New York Jets to 3 for 10. And I do know for a fact that the New York Jets offense was a really good third down offense. They were a 41% on third downs. 41% was their conversion rate. That is well below that 41%. It's actually 30%. I'm not a mathematician, but I can do that. But still, good job for the Steelers winning on third downs, getting off the field. Now, it's not all going to be sunshine and rainbows. We had 10 winners, but there are 3 losers. Here we go. Let's get this started. First loser, the first loser is the NFL officiating. And the stat line is, what the hell was that? And I said this, and again, I don't want to reiterate everything from the post-game show, but I do have just some thoughts to carry over. This all stemmed from the Larry Ogunjobi penalty in the first quarter, where Breece Hall gets tackled high. I'm pretty sure it was Breece Hall. If it was someone else, I apologize. The running back or the ball carrier gets tackled, and it's high, and he kind of throws him to the ground. But there was no whistle that was audible that I heard. And Larry Ogunjobi gets tagged for a 15-yard penalty, and Aaron Rodgers ends up going down the field. They score a touchdown thanks to that personal foul penalty, which gives them a fresh set of downs. So they set that precedent that they're going to flag everything like that's excessive. All right, that's fine. You can do that. But then you see plays like where Jaylen Warren is still in a pack. The offensive line is pushing them forward. His forward momentum has not been stopped, and they're quick whistle. Naji Harris gets the football. He's running, gets tackled. But he's not down, kind of still moving forward. Quick whistle. Okay, so what's going on here? It doesn't make sense. But there's more to it. You had this play, and this is a great example of what's wrong with NFL officiating. And it's also what's wrong with what I hate about the NFL sometimes. So it was a critical 4th and short. The Steelers could have kicked a field goal, gone up by 15 points or so. And instead, they go for it. Okay, they go for it. And Russell Wilson, quarterback sneak, and it's close. So you have the 2 side judges. They come running in, and it's a mass of bodies in the middle. It's like a rugby scrum. And everyone's just kind of slowly being peeled off the pile. Officials are trying to locate who has the ball. Well, next thing you know, the head official, who wears the white hat, he is holding the ball. He's standing outside the pile, holding the football. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson is still at the bottom of the pile. They're still peeling people off. And so finally, Russell Wilson is out of the pile, standing next to the head official, who's holding the football. And then they look at each other and say, okay, I guess we just put the ball here. They put the ball down. They don't bring in the sticks. They just look and say, first down. I'm a Steeler fan. This is great. Great news. This is basically ices the win. But I'm looking at this like, okay, it's 2024. It is 2024. And this is their process. That the ball was picked up out of the pile and then the ball was just randomly put down. And this billion-dollar entity that is the National Football League is not using chips in a football or some type of technology to assure first downs. They are using sticks and chains. Still, I'm sorry. I'm not buying what the NFL is selling from an officiating standpoint. It's bad. It's going to continue to be bad. And if the fact that they show they don't show any type of, we're going to improve. We're going to make changes. They don't do any of that. So you know what? They don't care. They don't care. This is just what we have to deal with, unfortunately. All right, the next loser it's one that if you watched the game, you saw it. The tackling for the Steelers is on the loser list. I saw so many bad angles. Minka Fitzpatrick had a really bad angle at a ball carrier. Guys that were like running into each other. It was bad. It was bad. And missed tackles is not an official statistic. And in this case, I'm glad it's not because it would probably be glaring. But still, the tackling for the Steelers was just bad. And then last loser, I try not to pile on this group, But the third down offense, I don't think they had a conversion on third down until the second half. They end up going 5 for 14. 5 for 14 on third downs. I'm sorry, that's just not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it. That is one area of this offense that, even though they turned it around the second half, did not play the way that they had to or the way that they should. And so it's on the losers list. So those are your 3 losers. So there you have it, 10 winners, 3 losers after the Steelers' big win over the New York Jets, moving to 5-2. It's going to be an exciting week. And we have a little bit of an extra break with a Monday nighter, and then we go into the bye week. Let's see if the Steelers could somehow win both of these back-to-back primetime games, find themselves 6-2 heading into the bye, putting themselves in a prime spot heading into the roughest part of their schedule in the second half. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I hope that you check us out on all of our platforms. And when I say all of our platforms, I also am including the SteelCurtainNetwork.com. SteelCurtainNetwork.com is the website domain. Give us a check. You have a lot of people that you hear on our podcast platform, not just me. Dave Schofield's a writer. We've got a lot of other people that contribute on the written side that are also on the podcast side. Coach KT Smith does a weekly article. Check us out again, SteelCurtainNetwork.com. But if you listen to this in the audio side, check us out on YouTube. Give us a shot there. See what you like. We have some things that are only on YouTube. Check us out. Go to YouTube, search Steel Curtain Network. You'll find us. Give us a subscribe, like the videos. We appreciate all that. But make sure you're checking out all of our stuff at Steel Curtain Network on our podcast platform, etc. Really proud of the people that we have working there. It's just a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a great season so far. Enjoy the hell out of this 5-2 start, folks, because these don't just grow on trees. We should know this by now. So onward and upward. We're going to have everything covered for you here. Make sure you check out that giveaway at Steel C Network. I'll have all that out today on Monday. But in the meantime, you don't even finish these out. Be safe, be kind, and God bless. Have a great start to your week. We'll see you on Wednesday. Go Steelers.